Hey, what's up, guys? We're doing a new video. I'm going to be reacting to a couple of major players, face from major players videos regarding beat 'em ups. Sorry, this video came out a little bit late. I've been busy working on a lot of stuff. I'm currently working on the first beat 'em up showcase, which is going to be debuting over at the Brawlers Avenue YouTube, which I'll have a link for that in the description. Uh, yeah, I've also been working on some other stuff. As you guys saw, I just released the preview for Alley Witch. I almost called her Spellcaster. Uh, it's a funny thing. They used to have the name for the update used to be Spellcaster. But yeah, I did a video demoing her, and that's up on the Brawlers Avenue channel as well. And I'm also working on just getting a video. I'm trying to beat Legend with her, trying to get that up. I had like no problem beating Hero or the other difficulties, so it's gonna take me a minute to try to get that one up. I'm trying to get it up like the day she released. She released on 24th. By the way, guys, if you have not picked up Mayhem Brawler, please do so. But yeah, we're gonna look at his why beat 'em up games are in trouble. We're gonna look at that one first. Then I think after that we'll look into his I was making a beat 'em up game, but or no, actually, we're gonna. It's like three different videos. Okay, so we'll cover why beat 'em up games are in trouble, and then we'll cover future beat 'em up games need this. Maybe I'll do separate videos. We'll see. Okay, so first video: why beat 'em ups are in trouble. I didn't mean to do the same pose as him. It's just a habit thing. All right, let's play a video.
I was Goody Good Face in the building, right? You see the title, see the thumbnail. Now, for those who watch this channel, for those who are part of this community, you know me as an advocate for beat 'em ups, you say. You know that I always say and rise to the beat 'em ups. Because I would love to see the genre thrive again. I want to see the genre be staple in gaming again. Like, I want to see it be something that casuals pick up, beat 'em up fans pick up, just gamers in general pick up and not overlook. Because for many years, beat 'em ups were overlooked. Now, I have seen a lot of new beat 'em ups lately. Usually, I will be doing lots of videos and lots of content on these beat 'em ups. But I did say to myself, Face, we cannot just dive right in and show any and any beat 'em up, because in my opinion we should always strive for quality over quantity. Now, I don't want to be naming.
Okay, so absolutely agree with this. It is always quality over quantity to me. That being said, though, I think this is I'm not sure, I don't recall, but when I was talking over Aria's video, I was saying the same thing, that quality for one person is kind of different per person. You know, like a lot of people I think wouldn't consider Raging Justice to be a quality beat 'em up, but after taking some time to play it and actually like I watched a few playthroughs from people who are like really good at the game and enjoy it and stuff. I actually come to find out, like, yeah, it actually is a pretty quality beat 'em up. It's just it's not the it's not of the standard that we would expect out of a Streets of Rage 4, or if there's a new Final Fight game that comes out or anything like that, or even the Double Dragon Gaiden. I think Double Dragon Gaiden is actually another good example. There's a lot of people that are like, well, um I'm gonna pass on this because I don't like the graphics. The graphics look very chibi. The graphics look pretty cheap. We want something that's a little bit more high fidelity. Uh, so like I absolutely agree. Like it's definitely quality over quantity for sure. But I also think we need to like figure out like what we can define as quality. Like what what set of standards will we expect out of every beat 'em up? That's typically what I'm thinking about practically any time I think about this particular topic.
beat 'em ups and stuff, and out in devs and being that type of guy. But a lot of beat 'em ups I've seen lately, and mostly on new IPs, have not been quality, in my opinion. This is not a dig, this is not a diss, it's just an opinion from a beat 'em up player. Yeah, a casual beat 'em up player. I wouldn't say I was no pro or anything like that, but a casual beat 'em up player. I haven't seen the greatest quality. Now, the recent Streets of Rage 4 has...
I'm slightly concerned because the timing of that showed Mayhem Brawler when he's talking about games that are not of quality. I know he doesn't mean it. It's just the timing of it was kind of funny. like, because I know him as well as like me and quite a few other people feel like Mayhem Brawler has been getting crapped on for no reason, and is actually an insanely good game. But yeah, I just found the timing of that kind of funny.
Really upped the ante. Then we got games like Jitsu Squad, Mayhem Brawler, Midnight Fight Express, Sifu. Those, for me, are quality beat 'em ups. There's probably more I haven't mentioned. Oh yeah, sorry, River City Girls 2. Those games for me are premium tier beat 'em ups. S tier beat 'em ups.
So one thing I will say, as far as the quality goes, I think the toughest thing when it comes down to critiquing um, stuff in this genre is that a lot of people, when they have an opinion about the thing, like the game or whatever, they go off of like specifically what they think of the game, right? Like there's people like I said, I just brought Mayhem Brawler, and he said Mayhem Brawler is pretty good. I think it's great. It's a great game. I love it. But there are a lot of people that crap on it because it has similar graphics to Streets of Rage 4, but it's not Streets of Rage 4. And I always felt like Mayhem Brawler was a little bit rough around the edges when it first came out. Updates have definitely fixed it over time. I really think Mayhem Brawler 2 is where Hero Concept is going to really find their stride. I always say this, sequels are where the developer has learned a lot from the first game, and they can just go ham and go nuts with what they want to do with the second game, and from what I've already seen of Mayhem Brawler 2, that's going to be the case. But I tried not to go off of my own personal opinion whenever I'm talking about the quality of a game. Because even if we look at Streets of Rage 4, for example, there are things that I had gripes with it all the way up to version 7. And then version 8 came out, and they fixed a lot of stuff that I had gripes with. But I would never say that it hadn't been a quality game since version 5. Even version 4, honestly. Like, version 4 was really rough, but there's no way I would say Streets of Rage 4 is not a quality game. Same thing with River City Girls 2, actually. Like, I've been having trouble even just beating that game. That's just a video for another time, but like I would never say that that game is not of quality because it definitely hits a certain standard with that. So even if I don't like a game or if I don't feel like a game, like all right, I'm just not feeling a game, I can still attest for its quality. And I feel like Face and quite a few others that actually critique this genre understand that too. I think they are able to just say like, "Hey, this game, I'm not really feeling this game, but I do think it's a quality game." Because that's the great thing about this genre is that there's always going to be different types of beat 'em ups. Some things are going to be your cup of tea, and some aren't going to be your cup of tea. But we could always at least agree, hey, this developer put a lot of heart into this versus like if we were to see, say, the Cobra Kai games that I honestly feel were absolute cash grabs, you know, and those games I wouldn't say are bad. They're about medium quality in my opinion. Well, the first one is. The second one, I'm hearing a lot of stuff that's not really good about it, but it still comes off as a cash grab to me. Like that like for all the money that they charge for it, they could have done a lot more with that game, and it's disappointing to me as somebody who's a fan of the Cobra Kai series to see a game that costs that much, that costs more than even Streets Rage 4 or any of the new beat 'em ups we've seen, and the quality is just not up to par with what I would spend 50 or $40 on, you know.
In my opinion, I've probably missed out a few, but just those ones off the top of my brain are like S tier beat 'em ups. For me, that should be the standard. We all know that not every dev or indie dev is going to be able to have the budget or the time to be able to produce that standard. I get it. But just any old beat 'em up is not gonna cut it to put the genre forward. Now, in the case of actually pushing the genre forward, in my opinion, how that would happen is if you do follow suit from what Streets of Rage 4 has done, and Turtles as well, sorry I forgot to mention that one, in bringing back known IPs that we love already. A few beat 'em up guys are gonna think, Face, what do you mean? Like they should just be making old school stuff? That's not exactly what I'm gonna say. I want you to hear me out. We need some more big IP beat 'em ups to look forward to for the genre to be in the spotlight again. And at the moment, for me, we don't have any. And if there are, they are far away. You're probably thinking, why do we need just...
So that one, I do agree with him. This was made before Double Dragon Gaiden came out, but honestly, I think it even applies with Double Dragon Gaiden. Like I said in my reaction video, for that this is, I know, a lot of people aren't feeling it. I feel like they should, I feel like you guys should support that game anyway. Because, going to what Face just said, it is one of the older classic IPs. And I think it's going to be a very decent game. And it's going to get eyes on the genre and the Double Dragon franchise. However, I don't think that game falls under the standard that he's talking about here. If we're talking about the Streets Rage 4s, the River City Girls, even the Fighting Rages and stuff like that, like I don't think it falls under that particular quality. Not because it's a bad game or is a mid game or anything like that. Again, we haven't played it, so we don't know for sure. I think it's going to be a great game, but when we're talking about a Double Dragon game that is being put out by Arxis, or more so published by Arxis, it's like I said in that video, we need something that is going to blow the competition out of the water when it comes down to Double Dragon. Like, it needs to be on par with Streets of Rage 4 and whatever Final Fight game Capcom's going to come out with. Like, Double Dragon Gaiden is going to be a great game. I think it's going to be good just to put the franchise out there. I'm glad they're actually doing something with Double Dragon, because that's always been my annoyance, is that all we've gotten from Double Dragon so far was Double Dragon Neon back in 2010, which has been almost a decade and a half from that. We did get a port of it, but again, that's a port. And then after that, we got Double Dragon 4, which I liked, but it was very disappointing because it was basically a retroactive NES game. And that would have been fine to me if they had taken the opportunity to make a upscaled version of Double Dragon 4. This is something that Bloodstain did, the developers of Bloodstain did. They had a retro NES looking type of game, and then they had an upscaled game. And both of those games did very well. So I don't see why they didn't just do that with Double Dragon. But I agree with Face here. The problem with what he's saying, though, is that so far, the only titles that I would say um, even fit that bill would be Streets of Rage, which we already got the fourth game of. Maybe we'll get a fifth one. Final Fight and Double Dragon. River City, of course, there's River City Ransom, but we've already got River City Girls. But River City Ransom is like slightly below, like the Holy Trinity that is Streets of Rage, Final Fight, and Double Dragon. Like the only other games I could think of that would really put asses in seats, so to speak, would be a licensed game that Capcom did back in the past, maybe Alien versus Predator, The Punisher, something that's holding on to one of those bigger IPs. Oh yeah, TMNT is also another one. Obviously, I'm really not into TMNT Shredder's Revenge that much, but very good game. It definitely put asses in seats. It definitely put the genre out there. People paid more attention to the genre. I'm going to get into the things that that game has done exceedingly well that I think this entire genre needs to take note of. But yeah, like outside of the main three, all I could think of is licensed games. Your Alien versus Predators, your Punishers, maybe your Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, um, another X-Men game. I still advocate for Hero Concept to take on that IP. I think their system is perfect for that. But yeah, unless we're gonna get some like licensed titles using huge IPs, maybe a new Spider-Man beat 'em up. I don't see Spider-Man happening. We have a Spider-Man uh free world action game being developed already, and that doesn't really fall under beat 'em ups. So I don't know if we would get a classic Spider-Man beat 'em up, but I think X-Men would be a good candidate for this. You know, there is the Phantom that's being worked on. I don't know a lot about the Phantom though, to be honest with you. There's Toxic Crusaders. That one's coming out. I think that one's gonna. It's not gonna be on like TMNT levels of hype for people, but there is a fan base for that, and that is a pre-existing license, so that could fall under the category. And of course, this video was made before even Toxic Crusaders was announced. So yeah, I agree with him. It's just as far as like something that's not based on a previously licensed IP, I can't think of anything outside of the big three. I'd love to see the Russian Beat series come back, for example. Love to see another Ninja Warriors game be made. I'd actually really just love to see Ninja Warriors ported to PC, but we're probably never going to see that happening. Yeah, I could just like think off the top of my head a number of original IPs that I think would be great to bring back, but they're still not on the level of popularity of Final Fight, Double Dragon, River City Ransom, and Streets of Rage.
The big IPs to make the genre thrive again. You kind of need a poster boy. You kind of need a poster. And for people to come to the genre, you kind of need a poster they are familiar with. Streets of Rage was something a lot of people were familiar with. And that now said, oh, okay, Streets of Rage 4 is brilliant. Let me have a look at some other beat 'em ups there are. Then you start looking at this game, that game, this game, because you played that game and that game was so good, I need to see more. And at the moment, there is not a new poster boy for beat 'em ups. There isn't. Like, I've heard rumors floating around of a Golden Axe. Now that would be brilliant. That will be another
Funny free fade, but yeah, Golden Axe is another one actually. Yeah, I remember hearing about the Golden Axe happening. Not gonna go into details, but from what I heard, that fell through. It didn't happen, and it's very disappointing. And I hope maybe someday that same pitch can go through, because I know who are working on that, who wanted to work on that, and I think they do an amazing job with the new Golden Axe. But I mean, until then, I haven't heard anything else. But yeah, Golden Axe is another one of those games that I think that is not a um, non-video game license, I should say, instead of previous license. That maybe Battle Circuit. There's a number of Capcom games actually that I think might do pretty decently if they did like a little budget title with good graphics and gameplay.
Good poster boy, if that game is done properly, that would be brilliant. But at the moment, there's not a pull. There's not one to say that we're looking forward to say, right, that's gonna pull in some more gamers into beat 'em ups. There's not. Now, it can be done with a new IP. Don't get it twisted, it can be done with a new IP. But how often does that happen? You would need something amazing. You would need something so groundbreaking, it's ridiculous. You were gonna need a Fortnite. You're literally.
Absolutely agree with this. I can tell you just from having helped with Mayhem Brawler, if it's not Streets of Rage 4 or some main title that people have known for decades or whatever, you're gonna struggle. Jitsu Squad is an amazing game. Fight Rage is an amazing game. Fight Rage came before any of these new games popped up. And it took not only getting onto console, but for influencers to jump off of Streets of Rage 4 and actually acknowledge the game's existence for it to be acknowledged. And that game is probably one of the best beat 'em ups out there, made by one guy. Like it's literally like I feel like Battletoads is actually another one, but yeah, I feel like Final Rage was probably one of the best successors to Battletoads. And even its fighting system, like I looked at its fighting system and thought, if somebody built a Final Fight game off of this, it would be amazing because of like the stuff that it takes from Final Fight and expands on it. But he's right, like original IPs struggle, even when they're like insanely good, to get an audience. That's why, honestly, that's why Brawl's Avenue, Major Playerz, the Flying Kick, Belt Action Central, World of Beat 'em Ups, like that's why these channels exist, and that's why we do what we do, is because like these games need to be put out there more. People need to see that the genre is just isn't just a Streets of Rage and Final Fight and Double Dragon, and that it's not like just a genre where you're just mashing attack all the time. Like there's an insane number of great games in the genre that are not of the main IPs that are out there, and it's crazy to me that it's just hard to get them any attention.
Literally gonna need a Fortnite for a brand new IP to come and literally just take over the world. And the chances of that happening is so slim. It's so slim. And especially for a genre that's not looked at like that. Like, you can get a brand new first-person shooter that takes over the world. You can, because first-person shooters are popular already. But because beat 'em ups are not popular already, you need that poster. That, hey, here's a new game of an IP you already know. Come and check it out.
There's another problem with this though. I don't know if he's going to touch on this or not. I haven't watched this video in a while. But the other problem, actually, I think it's a double-edged sword. I don't think it's actually a problem. Is that the genre itself is this niche. Like it's the same thing with fighting games. Yeah, you got your Mortal Kombat, your Street Fighters, your Tekkens, especially now, where people look at that and like, oh yeah, fighting games are cool. But what does it really do for the genre itself? You got people who play Street Fighter, you have people who play Mortal Kombat, and you have people who play Tekken. But how many of those people are going to branch off and play Killer Instinct or Virtual Fighter or King of Fighters, right? We have a new King of Fighters game that's out. It's not it's not up to standard as the new Street Fighter and Tekken and Mortal Kombat, of course, but SNK fans and people who love King of Fighters seem to love that game, right? But getting a new audience towards that game is tough because the genre itself is just niche and people just don't like. People aren't going to look at fighting games or beat 'em ups the same way they look at first person shooters. I would even go as far as to say action games struggle here too. Like even if we look at like Bayonetta or Devil May Cry, I think Devil May Cry 5 did pretty well. Um, Bayonetta, on the other hand, like I think it did. I think it did decent, but I don't know if it did the numbers that it should do. And it's the same thing. Actually, the same thing to say. I think Platinum Games as a whole is a testament to this. They've come out with a lot of pretty solid. Even if they're mid, some they got some mid games. They got some really good games. They got some really solid tiered games. And yet that company is struggling to get funding for their projects. Nintendo had to swoop in and save Bayonetta from, you know, just being a one-hit wonder because, you know, Sony, Xbox didn't want to pick it up. And there's no way you can tell me Platinum's not a good company that does insanely good games. But that's kind of part of the issue. I think the other issue as well, though, is that like it's this genre is not well acknowledged in the public eye either. Like I ranted a while back about the Game Awards listing Sifu as a fighting game, but I'm annoyed by that because they had a category for action games, right? And within that category itself, you could have had just all beat 'em ups in action games, which they did. They had I think it was Shredder's Revenge. Um, there was another beat 'em up they had in there. And then Bayonetta 3, of course. But then the other two games were first person shooters. And it's like you already have a category for first person shooters. Why are these games in the action category? So even in the mainstream, like this genre and its subgenres just isn't taken as seriously as first person shooters. And the big question that comes with that is like, how do we deal with that exactly? I would say we'd probably need something along the lines of an Elden Ring or something to do that. Because Elden Ring is more of an action RPG, right? Like, and it's done well. Like Souls-like games have done extremely well. I would say maybe the next step would be to incorporate roguelike elements. I know some people may not like that idea, but I look at something like Hades and the upcoming Hades 2, some other roguelites, or even looking at Streets of Rage 4's survival mode, or Double Dragon Gaiden, which is going to have some roguelike elements like Streets of Red did. And I just think, well, maybe this is just what we need for the public eye to get eyes on the genre. That's the only thing I can really think of.
People funnel in, start playing, then start searching for the new IP ones. Not gonna lie, this for me, in my opinion, now it's all opinion based, is an issue. It is an issue for the rise of the genre. It is. Because there's nothing really to look forward to in that poster boy state. Now, we have some big games to look forward to, like Mayhem Brawler 2, big game. Hopefully we get a Midnight Fight Express DLC, massive one. That'll be good. Sifu's doing well. Issue with Sifu though is that people keep getting confused about Sifu. They keep getting confused and saying it's this or that. No, Sifu.
Exactly what I was just talking about. Exactly what I was just talking about. Sifu keeps being put into categories that it's not a beat 'em up, and it's literally, I think, literally the first 3D beat 'em up we've had in a long time, and I mean like a legit 3D beat 'em up and not a character action game. It's the first straightforward 3D beat 'em up we've had in a while. Midnight Fight Express kind of counts towards that, but it's more of a top down than a 3D beat 'em up. And that's another thing. Like I do want to make a video eventually talking about like the 3D beat 'em up genre, because I think that is a very underrated portion of the genre that they just completely dropped the potential of that, because it obviously evolved into the hack and slash character action genre. That is Devil May Cry, God of War, etc., etc. Those games, but there are 3D beat 'em ups that I think had a good foundation that could have been built on. Final Fight Streetwise is one of them. I don't care what anybody says. Most people that I know that crap on that game have not played it, and I think that and it's understandable why they don't like the game. I don't like those particular aspects of it, but the gameplay itself is actually really solid, and it had a very good foundation for it. I even went as far as to say that I would actually like to see whatever new Final Fight game Capcom comes out with be 3D, because I think if they took what Streetwise started as far as just the gameplay goes, keep the art style that we're getting from Street Fighter 6 and the exploration of Maestro City that we're getting in Street Fighter 6, they could have a pretty killer IP. And it would actually separate itself from Streets of Rage, instead of getting a 2D Final Fight game, in which undoubtedly is going to be compared to Streets of Rage 4. And whether it does good on that merit or not is to be seen. But I would much rather them take the opportunity to utilize what they had just built in Street Fighter 6 and make a full-form 3D Final Fight game on the RE engine, where we can explore Metro City, utilize different attacks and stuff from multiple characters. Just do what DMC5 did, but with Final Fight. And a little bit more grounded, a little bit less air combos, more maybe grounded juggles or something like that. It's a lot they could do, honestly. That is actually one thing I would say that could be done to push the genre forward, is to get more 3D beat 'em ups that are a little bit more grounded. In fact, I would actually say if God of War, the new God of War games were a little bit less story focused and a bit more arcade like, that would be a good base for something you could do with 3D beat 'em ups. But Sifu definitely lays out something that I saw in a lot of older 3D beat 'em ups, like the Yakuza series, the early Yakuza series, Urban Reign, Spike Out. A lot of these games kind of had what Sifu has pretty much done now, and if we were to continue on doing 3D beat 'em ups like Sifu, or even just taking what God of War did and making a beat 'em up out of it, I think that would actually help put the genre in the public eye a little bit more. Even though the action genre is still niche, I think it would still do something.
If it's a beat 'em up, guys, it's a beat 'em up. Doesn't matter if it's side scrolling, it's still a beat 'em up. Just that is what it is. There's no way around it. That is what it is. It's a beat 'em up. Punching up multiple man, beat 'em up. That is what it is. Yeah. So that getting DLC and being stapled as a beat 'em up will help as well. Turtles Shredder's Revenge getting a big DLC would be quite good as well. Obviously, Streets is done, in my opinion. That's it. It's over. Streets has done its job. Streets of Rage 4 has done its job. It's put beat 'em up. It became beat 'em up's poster boy for people to say, come back to us, start playing again. Streets of Rage has done its job. It's done. What happens here? What happens here?
Also, quick shout out to Guard Crush Games. I don't know what they're working on next. I actually hope it is a beat 'em up. I think Face was saying he thinks it's probably gonna be a fighting game. It could be. They are fighting game players, but I'd like to see them do their own original IP, beat 'em up, based on what they did with Streets of Rage 4, and just be able to update it whenever they feel like it. No strings attached. I mean, I don't know, maybe Dotemu would be the one publishing it, but it would be nice to see them make their own beat 'em up now that Streets 4 is done. I'm not really looking forward to a Streets Rage 5 right now. I'm more looking forward to other games being brought back, but I'm not complaining if Streets Rage 5 does happen.
You cannot have medium tier. Now, being a average game is not a bad thing. Being a decent game is not a bad thing. But decent games do not push the genre forward. They have to be literally groundbreaking. Now, listen to me. I am not dissing your game. If you're a dev and you're watching, I am not dissing your game. I am not dissing your game. I'm just saying the genre is in a place where it's not what it was back in the 90s. It's not.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I think part of the reason why it's like that is because it essentially evolved into the character action hack and slash games. Like, those games are typically what beat 'em ups used to be back in the 90s. You're seeing a lot of commercial IPs utilizing that and not doing them very well, honestly. But I think the other reason for that, and this goes into the quality over quantity thing, is that there are too many devs that are just doing the bare minimum with their game. And that goes into the whole, like, me not exactly caring for the idea that we need to utilize fighting game mechanics in order to make beat 'em ups good. I think the problem is that when you get a classic beat 'em up, a lot of the developers are just doing the bare minimum. When you can go back and play something like Alien vs. Predator, Battle Circuit, a number of different Capcom games, of course, the Streets of Rage series, Super Double Dragon Advance. You can go back and play a lot of classic beat 'em ups, and you'd see that there's a lot of things that these newer beat 'em ups still have not done or messed with or even tapped the potential of. And that could run into just the idea of budget, right, and time. Because even when you want to talk about, like, implementing a grapple system on the level of, like, Streets of Rage 4, Streets of Rage in general, actually, that's tough, and it takes a lot of development time. But I think that is also part of the problem, is that we're getting a lot of mediocre beat 'em ups that don't even cut it as far as, like, what the classics used to do, let alone moving forward from what the classics left and building on that with newer mechanics and stuff. It just, the standard itself needs to be raised just as far as the bar was already set with a lot of the more popular new games.
It's definitely not. So to get it back to a maybe not as popular as how it was in the 90s, but to get it up there with the likes of, I don't know, third-person story-driven games, fighting games, shooters, to get it, like, closer to that, you're gonna need some really, really big IPs to stand out and be your poster boy. And at this particular moment, nothing's going on. Now, I'm hoping a Capcom Final Fight does come out and it's a banging game. That Final Fight definitely would be a poster boy. Golden Axe, a new one, definitely will be a poster boy for beat 'em ups. And then off the back of that, the newer IP beat 'em ups can thrive and get themselves into the forefront. Get themselves to be that poster boy. Because that is how the genre is going to grow. But at this particular moment, that's not happening. It's not. It's not happening. And I'm not going to lie to you, I'm worried. I am. I'm actually worried about it. No lie. Now, I want you to share your opinion on this in the comment section. Let's have a conversation. Yeah? Let me know. Let me know how you would get beat 'em ups back in the...
Okay, so that's pretty much the end of that video. This video is probably going to be about 30 minutes long, so I'll go into his other videos in separate videos. I kind of like to just do a breakdown of this stuff. But that being said, kind of my conclusion on this, even as far as answering like what exactly would I do. I mean, I don't like to plug my project so much in these discussions, mainly because I haven't done anything yet, right? Like, I want to get to a point where people can see what it is that I want to do with the genre, what I want to do with this game and stuff before I really start, oh, well, my game is this and that. Like, but as far as like what I think I would do as a whole, just the stuff that I said throughout this video, I think we need to bring back the grounded 3D beat 'em up genre and kind of bridge that gap between the character action games and the story driven games, as he mentioned, and classic beat 'em ups. And I think Sifu is actually really one of those games, and we've seen it. It made it to the Game Awards. The only problem is, just as both of us have just said, it needs to be classified as what it is, a beat 'em up. Not a fighting game, not an action game, not a character action game, not a hack and slash. Like, none of this extra stuff. It's a beat 'em up. And the more we see of these different Sifus and stuff like that, the better. I think that is a good way to kind of bridge the gap. Obviously, that's not what I'm doing with my own project. You guys have seen it. It is a 2D game. But there are things that I want to do in particular that I have seen done in the genre. So I'm not going to be one of those people that say we're revolutionizing the genre, because we're not. We're taking what was already there and making it better, improving on it, maybe tapping into certain things within those mechanics and stuff that we personally just haven't seen happen, at least more recently. Just trying to bring back to the forefront the things that people really enjoyed about the extremely good beat 'em ups back in the day, what made those games so fun in the 90s and stuff. Like, to me, there's no, like, when it comes down to 2D beat 'em ups, there's no need to reinvent the wheel. Like, the foundation was laid back in the 90s. Just take what was there, utilize the things that haven't been utilized enough, improve upon it, maybe add some things here and there from other genres like the fighting game genre to expand on those things. But, just remember that there's an actual foundation for this stuff. All right, well, anyway, that's the end of this video. I'm going to get into his other videos later. Yeah, I actually have work later on today, so yeah, I don't know what else to say other than catch you guys in the next video.